You were trained to be soft, to be open, to be vulnerable. They sold you a lie, didn't they? A lie with soft edges and sweet-sounding slogans. Be her protector, her provider, her peace. They told you that what women really want is a good man. A man who listens, a man who feels, a man who puts her first. But let's be honest. Where has that gotten you? You're here, aren't you? Confused, maybe a little abandoned, definitely ignored. You're watching the same woman who once seemed to admire your kindness now getting excited over the guy who doesn't even call her back. And deep down, you're starting to feel it. That little itch of betrayal. That quiet voice in the back of your head that's whispering, none of what they taught you actually works. And that voice is right. It doesn't. Not in the real world. The book Women Magic Lore by Calvin Reed. Well, it wasn't written for the guy who still believes in the Disney version of romance. It was written for the man who's been burned, the man who's been played, ghosted, and drained emotionally. It's for the guy who is finally ready to stop pretending and see the game for what it truly is. Because there's a truth that men aren't really supposed to say out loud. And it's this. Women don't fall in love with your goodness. They fall in love with your gravity, with your power, your presence, your command. It's not about your kindness. It's not about compromise. And it's definitely not about your feelings. Think about it. The man she fantasizes about isn't the one who puts her on a pedestal and worships her. It's the one who stands on his own mountain, so solid in himself that he doesn't even seem to need her applause. You were probably raised, like most of us, to chase, to prove your worth, to show her how much you care by pursuing her relentlessly. But the moment you start chasing, you flip the entire dynamic on its head. You kill the tension. You're basically sending a subconscious signal that says, I am beneath you, so I have to run after you. Reed makes this brutally, undeniably clear. Never chase. The second you do, you're no longer the prize. You're the puppy. And let's be real, women don't sleep with puppies. They pet them. They say, "Oh, that's so sweet." And then they get bored and move on to the wolf. The wolf doesn't ask for affection. He commands it, simply by existing in his own powerful truth. That's the fundamental shift you need to make. Women aren't attracted to men who beg for their attention. They are drawn, irresistibly, to men who build. You want her to need you? Then you have to stop needing her. Your mission is to build a life so magnetic, so compelling, that she wants to be in its orbit. Not because you bought her flowers, but because you offered her something far more intoxicating. Silence, purpose, direction, and a little bit of unpredictability. You're still out here trying to win her over with effort, but women don't fall for effort. They fall for energy. The energy of the man who doesn't flinch. The man who can walk away without a second thought if his boundaries are crossed. That is the man she cannot forget. This is the magic lure that Reed exposes. He pulls back the curtain on the trap that most men walk right into, believing that love is some kind of even exchange. It's not. At its core, attraction is a power dynamic. It's a psychological dance of who needs the other person less, who controls the rhythm of the relationship, who is willing to withhold their attention first. And here's the really harsh truth. Women instinctively understand this. They don't need to read a book on it. They were raised on this principle. From a young age, they're taught, either directly or indirectly, not to give too much of themselves away, not to appear too eager, to make a man work for it, to let him invest more than she does. Why? Because the person who invests more becomes emotionally indebted. It's not evil, it's not malicious, it's evolution. It's a survival strategy. And yet, here you are, texting first, texting often, opening up way too soon, laying your entire soul bare to a woman who is, whether she realizes it or not, scanning your words for weaknesses. She's not looking for your deepest truth. She's looking for leverage, not to destroy you, but to figure you out. She's asking herself, can I shape this man? Can I guide him? Can I completely own his attention? And if the answer is yes, you're no longer a mystery to her. You've just become a mirror, reflecting her own desires back at her. And women don't crave mirrors. They crave mountains they can't conquer. Women magic lore teaches a critical lesson here. Being emotionally open too early isn't vulnerability. It's volunteering for psychological disarmament. You think you're building closeness and trust, but what you're actually doing is handing over the complete instruction manual to your own mind. Every secret, every insecurity, every unmet need becomes a detailed roadmap that she never even asked for. And once she has it, the chase is over. Not because she's cruel, but because your mystery died in your desperation to be understood. You have to understand this. Women are biologically wired to respond to uncertainty with desire. I'm not talking about chaos or being a jerk. I'm talking about masculine unpredictability. The calm, centered man who reveals little, who leads with his presence, not with long paragraphs of text. That is the man who gets under her skin. That's the man she daydreams about. She's not thinking about the guy who texts her, "Where did I go wrong?" She's obsessing over the guy who makes her ask herself, "Why can't I stop thinking about him?" You think connection is all about confession, that the more you tell her about yourself, the more she'll trust you. But women don't trust words. They trust dominance, direction, and detachment. Reed says it perfectly. Women follow energy, not explanations. And when your energy is screaming, "Please choose me, please validate me," she doesn't feel admiration. She feels a deep, instinctual repulsion. It's not because she's shallow. It's because biology punishes neediness. Neediness smells like a lack of survival skills. It signals weakness. It says, "I need you to validate me. I need you to complete me. I need you to fix the parts of myself that I refuse to fix." And that isn't love. That's dependence wearing the mask of romance. And women, they always know the difference. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it, deep in their instincts. A man who worships a woman becomes less of a man in her eyes. Why? Because in the act of worship, he hands over the one thing she secretly craves from him most: his emotional authority. And once you do that, you absolutely become hers, but not in the way you hoped. You become hers to manage, hers to tolerate, hers to shape. You've given her power over you, but you haven't earned her respect. And here's the brutal irony in all of this. When she finally has that power, she doesn't feel safe. She feels burdened. Because no woman, and I mean no woman, truly wants to be the man in the relationship. She might act like it. She might even say she enjoys the control. But over time, she will grow to resent you for it. She'll start to test you. She'll provoke you. Not because she wants to destroy the relationship, but because on a subconscious level, she is begging you to show some spine. She's daring you to fight back, to stand up to her, to not fold the second she applies a little pressure. Calvin Reed says it with surgical precision. The moment a woman knows she can control you emotionally, you have already lost her sexually. It's a done deal. Because desire doesn't live in comfort and safety. It thrives in polarity. It needs that masculine frame, that sense of direction. The man who doesn't just react to her moods, but actually anchors her through them. That's the secret they will never teach you in school. You see, you think love is about emotional equality, but attraction isn't. Attraction is primal, and primal instincts don't give a damn about modern ideas of fairness. They care about survival, strength, and stability. Women aren't sitting around consciously strategizing this stuff. They are feeling it, but their feelings follow a very predictable pattern. She tests you to feel your strength. She withdraws from you to feel you pull her back with calm confidence, not needy desperation. She pushes your boundaries, not because she wants to destroy them, but because she needs to know that they are real. She needs to know they will hold, and that you will hold, under pressure. You think you're being punished, but you're not. You're being measured. Women don't fall for perfect men. They fall for immovable ones. The man who is so grounded in himself, so unbothered by her external beauty, so unmoved by her emotional storms that she finally feels something incredibly rare: true masculine security. I'm not talking about the fake, chest-pounding alpha energy you see online. I'm talking about the quiet confidence that radiates from a man who knows, deep in his core, I am enough, with or without you. I want you, but I don't need you. And that single line, that mindset, is what separates the men who win from the men who are perpetually chasing. The man who wants but doesn't need is a man who chooses from a position of abundance, and women can feel that from a mile away. Calvin Reed really hammers this point home. Your abundance is your ultimate leverage. When a woman senses that your world is already full of mission, of purpose, of other options, her mind attaches not to what you say, but to what you don't say. It gets hooked on the mystery she can't quite unravel, on the life that she can't control. She'll start to ask herself questions. Where does he go when he's not with me? Who else is he seeing? Why isn't he obsessed with me like all the other guys? And in that space, in her wondering, you become the lure. You become the emotional gravity she can't escape. Not because you're playing some manipulative game, but because you stopped making her the prize and, through your actions and your focus, you became the prize yourself. Most men do the complete opposite. They meet a beautiful woman and they immediately surrender. They rearrange their entire lives for her. They cancel plans with their friends. They drop their priorities. They bend all their boundaries. And then they sit there crying when she loses interest. But what did you honestly expect? You handed over the keys to your entire kingdom before she even proved she was worthy of a tour. Women do not respect access that comes without effort. They respect gates, standards, and challenges. Now, Reed isn't telling you to be rude or to be a jerk. He's telling you to be rare. Be rare in your silence in a world where everyone overshares. Be rare in your availability when everyone else is desperate for attention. Be rare in your need for her emotional handholding. Because when you become the man who doesn't need to speak to be heard, you become unforgettable. Think about it. Women have seen it all. They've seen the attention. They've heard all the compliments. What they haven't seen, what is incredibly rare, is a man who sees through them, not just at them. A man who isn't just mesmerized by the beautiful surface, but connects with the actual person underneath, without being blinded by it. That's the man who rattles them. That's the man who redefines their taste in men. That's the man who doesn't just follow the rules of attraction. He becomes the rule. This is the stuff they won't tell you in therapy or in school or on your sanitized social media feed, because it shatters the comfortable illusion that you've been trained your whole life to protect. You are not failing with women because you're too emotional or not nice enough. You're failing because you willingly handed over your edge. Calvin Reed calls it the erosion of masculine polarity. You've been taught to constantly seek harmony and agreement, when what actually creates attraction is friction. Not chaos, not arguments, but contrast. She is emotion. You are logic. She is fluid. You are fixed. She is the wave. You are the rock. The moment you abandon your nature to try and mirror her softness, you disappear into her frame. By default, she is forced to become the masculine energy in the dynamic, and no woman on earth wants to sleep with a man who feels like her emotional twin sister. She doesn't want to hold you. She wants to feel held by you, and that feeling doesn't come from you crying on her shoulder. It comes from her knowing who the hell you are, even when she's not around to validate you. Reed rips the bandage off completely when he says this. Women don't want your soul, they want your center. They want to feel your axis, unshaken, especially when they are the ones trying to shake it. And make no mistake, she will try to shake it. Not because she hates you, but because her deepest feminine instinct needs to verify you. It's a quality control test. Is his confidence real? Do his words actually have roots? Can his masculinity withstand her chaos without folding like a cheap suit? Every complaint, every bout of silence, every emotional swing, it's a test. And you, conditioned as you are, think you're being punished, so you respond with appeasement. You try to soothe her, to agree with her, to give her whatever she wants to make the conflict go away. But appeasement is the death of desire. She doesn't want a yes man. She wants a hell no man. A man who can stand firm and say, "This is where I draw the line." Not with violence, not with anger, but with a calm presence. With a power that doesn't need to raise its voice to be heard. Women remember those men. Not because they were perfect, but because they were clear. This is the part most men simply refuse to accept. She doesn't want to lead. She will pretend she does, because modern culture has told her that's what she should want. But the moment you actually let her lead, she will begin to lose attraction for you. She doesn't want to be the one driving the relationship. She wants to feel your direction, even when she complains about it. Because deep down, feminine energy doesn't truly want control. It wants to surrender. But it can only surrender to a man who has structure, who has standards, who doesn't bend the moment she pouts. Reed makes it surgical. If you give her the steering wheel, don't be shocked when she eventually drives away. Not because she wanted to leave, but because you gave her no reason to stay. So what's the solution? What do you do with this truth that feels more like a gut punch than a piece of friendly guidance? You stop. You stop chasing her approval. You stop leading with your wounds and expecting her to heal them. You stop begging for acceptance through acts of affection. You stop seeking in women the validation you were never taught to find in yourself. And you start becoming the kind of man who doesn't need her to make him feel worthy. You build. You sharpen. You expand. You create a gravitational pull so strong, so deeply rooted in your mission and your movement, that women don't just want to be around you, they want to belong to the world you've built. Not because you demanded it, but precisely because you didn't. You showed them, through your actions, that your validation comes from your results, not from relationships. From your vision, not from their validation. From your own clarity, not from their compliments. This is the uncomfortable truth that Reed shoves right in your face. Most of your romantic pain isn't from her leaving. It's from the moment you realized you had nothing outside of her. that your entire identity was built around being needed, around being wanted. And when she walked away, your entire sense of self walked away with her. That's not her fault. That is yours. Because you made her the sun in your universe and completely forgot to become the sky. But here is the profound beauty hidden within this brutal honesty. Now you know. Now you see the game. And now you have a choice. You can choose to stop performing, to stop apologizing for your masculine nature, to stop giving your power away to women in exchange for scraps of affection that only pacify you long enough to keep you tame and obedient. And this brings us to the final truth, the one most men never arrive at because they're too busy being bitter, too busy blaming women, too broken to see clearly. Women are not the problem. Your illusion of them is, because the moment you stop needing her to complete you, you finally become complete. And I'm not talking about some spiritual fluff. I'm talking about a fire-forged reality. When you reclaim your center, when you learn to detach with presence, when you lead without needing to explain yourself, when you learn to say no without guilt and yes without fear, you become dangerous, not reckless, not cruel, but undeniably and intoxicatingly free. So here is your call to action, brother. Not to hate women and not to manipulate them, but to stop being manipulated by your own fantasies, to stop bleeding your sense of worth into their hands and then wondering why you always feel so empty. Read a book like Women Magic Lore not as a pickup manual, but as a war map, a blueprint to achieving psychological sovereignty. And then you have to live it. Walk like a man who doesn't chase. Speak like a man who doesn't fear silence. Love like a man who doesn't beg. That's when you stop being forgettable. That's when the game finally ends. Because the man who doesn't need to be chosen is the man she can never, ever forget. And that, my friend, is how you truly win. If this video opened your eyes or stirred something within you, consider supporting the channel by checking the link in the description. Your support means everything. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps this message reach those who truly need it. Cheers.